Hey guys, I'm MG, and it has been ages since I reviewed a Universal monster film, which is why I'll be looking at The Mummy, which is a 1932 American pre-code supernatural horror film that is about Imhotep trying to search for his loved one, which was directed by Carl Freund, who was the cinematographer for Dracula, and written by John L. Balderston. However, why don't we stop sleeping and start reviewing right now? This film is really bad. Like, I'm not even joking. It was so boring. At least Dracula had good moments, but this is just abysmal. It's only 73 minutes, but it feels like a whole century. Everything happens so slowly, up to the point where there is basically no tension or stakes whatsoever. This film just feels incredibly drawn out, with scenes that drag on forever. The opening scene is basically 12 minutes. I'm not joking. It takes that long for the mummy to wake up. And it felt so pointless as well, since the scene spends a few minutes showing us what the guy does. I'm not interested in a guy movie, so cut that script down. The cinematography also feels very standard. Outside of a couple of nice shots, it just leaves no impression on me, with some weird edits that don't feel right at all. And the characters are so forgettable. Imhotep / the mummy himself is so dull and unthreatening that it's honestly ridiculous. He doesn't do many evil things across the film, and the evil stuff that he actually does doesn't feel like it has much significance. He killed 2 people, and it barely matters. I know you can say that about the death scenes in Dracula, but I didn't mind too much, because there were a couple of cool kills, and Dracula was already threatening as he is. Imhotep is not, and the actual humans we follow across the movie are so bland. I don't even remember any of their names, and the players are so lifeless, which is crazy because some of them we've seen before in other films, like Edward Van Sloan or David Manners, who were both decent in Dracula. Here, they don't express their emotions really well, and all of the other players are exactly the same. The story felt so unambitious, and it doesn't feel like anything is happening in the plot. The sets are pretty generic, and do I really need to say anything else? Because, in general, this film just doesn't do anything with its story, and its inclusion of slow pacing and bland characters make it very tedious to watch. And I don't think I'm alone, since back when this film came out, a lot of people were unimpressed, and I see why they came to that opinion. With that said, there was 2 interesting scenes that I kind of liked. First being the opening 5 minutes, which was kind of intriguing till the pacing ruined it, and the second being the flashback. It wasn't that good, but it's the only time where I perked up, with it having a somewhat compelling backstory for the mummy that I enjoyed to some extent. Again, it's not amazing, but at least it's something for his dog script. And speaking of the mummy, I thought Boris Karloff was decent in his performance. He wasn't as good as he was in Frankenstein, but he embodied his character well enough, so I have to give him some credit for descending into his character's villainy. Another thing I have to praise this movie for is the special effects. It's very lackluster, yes, but the effects that they show honestly look pretty solid. The makeup was very convincing, the visuals of the water looked really cool, and the final scene was pretty stunning visually, with Imhotep's disintegration looking really great. And it was a wonderful death scene for the villain. The sound mixing is also alright. Some of it is either quiet, inconsistent, or not there, but for the majority of the film, it was mixed pretty well, and better than the sound mixing in Frankenstein or The Invisible Man. The music was pretty solid, with it conveying a tense theme that I thought was effective enough. Overall though, this movie has very little good aspects, and I don't really understand why people would come back to this film, unless it was for curiosity. But still, I would not recommend this for anyone, and it's definitely a big low point for the franchise. 3.6 out of 10. Goodbye everyone, and thank you for watching. Bye!